morning. As we come to the third day of our Passion Week devotionals, I want to welcome you on behalf of Wildwood Baptist Church in Englewood, Tennessee, to these Passion Week devotions, to these Passion Week ponderings on and teachings from the Scriptures concerning that last week in the life of Christ. My name is Bill Vest, and I have the pleasure of pastoring the wonderful people of Wildwood Baptist Church. And now I would ask that you would join with us as we look at the Scriptures in Matthew chapter 22, verses 16 through 21. Now, yesterday, if you were with us, we looked in chapter 21 of Matthew how Jesus cleanses the temple for a second time. And this time, though, is different from the first because he draws men to himself. Where before he was picturing that he is the only one who has the right to stand in the presence of God because he alone is pure, he alone is holy, he alone is uncorrupt, he alone has not fallen, he alone has been obedient to the Father in every aspect and will, as this week continues, be obedient to death, even death on the cross. And where he has the only right, now we see in chapter 21 that he extends that right to us. He offers his grace, and we who would receive it might be made whole, that we might be fixed, that we might be brought into the presence of God, not for the judgment of wrath, but for the judgment of adoption and blessing. Jesus cleanses the temple of its corruption once again in chapter 21, but goes back to Bethany, and in his absence, that corruption comes flying right back. It fills the temple complex, and in fact, the whole city in just a few hours of his departure. And what you have in the next number of stories from the Scriptures is the particular sects, the particular factions of the Israelites trying to trap Jesus, to trick Jesus into revealing that he is not the one who has knowledge about God, that he is not the one who knows the way, provides the way, is the way, the truth, and the life. They are trying to reveal him as a fraud, and Jesus is cutting them down at every single point. Every trap they set for him is turned back upon them. And he is revealed as even more glorious, as even more of grace and truth that he promised that he would be in John chapter 1. And today, for just a few moments, I want us to ponder one of those traps set for him. In Matthew chapter 22, verse number 16, Matthew writes, "And they sent their disciples to him, along with the Herodians, saying," now the Pharisees and the Herodians have come together now, "Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God truthfully. And you do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances." Here they're laying it on thick for the crowd, and they are giving false compliments to him, hopefully that they might be able to tear him down in their eyes. And they ask him a question that had perplexed all of Israel during this time where they are in a sense the captives of, the slaves of the Roman Empire. And so they ask him a question, hoping to trap him, to trip him up, to reveal him as false in verse number 17. They say, "Tell us then, since you're not swayed about others' opinions, since you teach truthfully, you're not swayed by appearances, tell us then, what do you think? Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not?" And Jesus responds, but Jesus, aware of their malice, said, why do you put me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me a coin for the tax. Now I want to take a little aside here for just a moment. It is amazing to me, and it's one of those things that reveals the incredible love of God for me, that the God of the universe, the Alpha, the Omega, the owner of the cattle on 1,000 hills, the creator and owner of everything, lives his life for 33 years on earth, and where foxes have holes and the birds of the air has their nests, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. To answer their question and to give a true illustration of how they should be living their lives, Jesus has to borrow a coin. Amazing love. Amazing grace. Somebody ought to write a song. But Jesus says, being aware of their malice, that they are trying to put him to the test, he said, show me a coin for the tax. And they brought him a denarius. And he held it up to them and said, whose likeness and inscription is on this? On this coin, whose likeness appears? And they said, Caesar's. And then Jesus says to them in response, verse number 21, therefore, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar, and to God the things that are God. Jesus says because that coin has Caesar's face on it, because it has Caesar's inscription upon it, that he can demand anything of it that he desires. It's his. But the question that I think that Jesus is trying to get them to ponder and for us to ponder is, okay, we know where the image of Caesar is, but where is the image of God? In Genesis chapter 1, verse number 27 through 29, we find that when Christ created everything, he created us in his image, male and female, he created in his image. But from the moment of Eve and Adam's sin and their expulsion from the garden, there was nothing upon the earth that bore the image of God. And then Christ, he says on that first Christmas Eve, a body you have prepared for me. In the fullness of the book it is written, I go, therefore, to do your will. And when Jesus was born in that stable in Bethlehem, finally on the earth, there was a proper image of God. By the way, this is why this is one of the 10 commandments. Make no graven image. Because man would never make the right image. He would always make something in our own likeness, or to our desire, or to something that we might control. In fact, in Romans chapter number 1, that is one of the reasons that is stated for the wrath of God. The wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth or hold the truth in unrighteousness. Because when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were they thankful, but became vain in their imaginations. Their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. He goes on to say in Romans chapter 1, they changed the image of the incorruptible God into an image made like unto man, or to things man can control, four-footed beasts and creeping things. We were made in the image of God. But the temple is revealing those who are the best in the world, those who are supposed to be the best in the world, those who are trying to be the best in the world, the Pharisees. Their corruption is revealed by Christ over and over and over and over again. No matter how hard we try, we can't overcome our own new nature, our own Adamic nature. And so he says, you don't make an image of me because you'll never make the right one. If we were to make an image of God, who would pick a lamb slain? Or a man who lived his life in absolute perfection, who doesn't have a coin on the next to last day of his life? You see, we get it wrong. And by the way, God didn't want us to make a graven image. He didn't want a static image. He had already created us to be in his image. And now Jesus is asking, where is it at? This coin has Caesar's image in it. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. But where is the image of God? It's in the face of Christ. It's in the answer of Christ. It's in the teaching of Christ. It's in the obedience of Christ. It's in the death of Christ. It's in the resurrection of Christ. And now it's in the body of Christ, the church. Let us take this lesson to heart. Let us thank God for his salvation of us from ourselves. And let us take on the task, which is not burdensome, but is actually what opens up life to us, to render to God that which is God's. We have been made to be like Christ. We wear his righteousness. Now let us reveal his love. Let us reveal his grace. Let us reveal his truth in the way that we live, in the way that we interact with one another, in the way that we glorify God, in the way that we hold to his truths and seek him out more and more, that we might reveal him more and more. Render unto Caesar that which bears his image, but also render unto God that which bears his. If you have been redeemed, if you are saved, born again, whatever word you want to use, you now once again bear the image of God. Live to make that reality visible. Live to let the name that we claim be honored by our lives rather than sullied. If we have strayed from the path, ask forgiveness. He will give it. Right? And then when our feet are firmly set again and we understand that it is God who kept us from falling, let us live with new determination to make him known, to exult in what he has done for us, and then to take that new life that he has given and live a life of purpose, of meaning, of love, of help, of restoration in this world. I thank you for joining with us during these weeks, and I pray that you would continue through this Passion Week, and that you would join us for our Easter services this Sunday as we look at the blessed exchange, the substitutionary atonement of Jesus Christ that makes all of these things and far more than we have been talking about possible. Again, if you have any need, I pray that you would contact Wildwood Baptist Church in Englewood, Tennessee. You can look up the phone number and call us, or you can leave us a message at wildwoodbc.com. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your attention. I thank you for your worship and your determination to live like Christ. Amen.